Welcome, everyone, to the Holstein House podcast. I'm the West Virginia woman, Robin, of RobinHolstein.com and Holstein House, where my guests get a great night's sleep at a fair rate plus breakfast. This is a podcast that looks at society and culture issues affecting families in West Virginia and the United States, from food preparation and storage, gardening, home repairs, current events, and more. We'll go around the table and back in 60 minutes or less. So let's hang out and talk a while. Well, hello there. There's a song about that someplace. I'm so sorry. I am here trying to get Dad's bills paid. And, okay, I'm old school about some things. And the Public Service District says you can pay it online. So I went and you can. And I went to pay his online, and I keyed one of the card numbers wrong, so it said declined. And I thought, yeah, I know what I've done, because there's a series that is easy to get backwards, and I got them backwards. So I tried it again, and it says, oh, you can't do that because it's a duplicate attempt. And I'm like, I'll just make you process a check. So excuse me, I have to talk to my printer down. So I'm old schooling it, and the printer, I'm printing a label for the PSD, because they send you a postcard. I just tore it in half. Let me see if I got another one here. They send you a postcard like this, and the idea is you go in and pay it, or you pay it online. But if you want to mail it in, this postcard doesn't fit in a traditional envelope, and so you got to tear it up. But anyway, you have to print a label too, where you have to figure out a way to label your envelope. I am notorious. I save envelopes from the companies that I pay bills online and force them, because they don't lower my bill for sending it to me electronically. So companies that I pay online, I keep the envelopes, and they do come in handy. I mean, I have way more than I need, but they do come in handy for times like this. So it took me 6 tries to get my label right, because, you may print, you guys, and I apologize to you guys who are not desk jockeys in administration anywhere. You get some Avery 6150s or 6150s and 5160s, and you may not only need 1 or 2 at a time. So you keep the sheet, and then you keep reusing it, and you count the rows, and you count the columns, and you print your. So my printer keeps duplexing, which I love, but I don't need for this. And every time I go in and I try to fix it, I'm like, you should be duplexing it. And then it's not the printer, it's the software. And it took me forever. And I thought I had it, and then I had it on the wrong row. And it's just another day in the life of Robin. I should make that my, I can't do that way. Morning. Oh, y'all, let me get started here. You don't want to listen to me fuss with this. I am Robin Holstein, the West Virginia woman. I have titled myself. It's Tuesday, December the 5th, and this is episode 121 of the Holstein House broadcast. Answering your questions on life, hosting a B&B from your home, food preparation and storage, pantry questions, and all kinds of stuff. That's why I kind of said life, because, geez Louise, life. I have more than my fair share of it right now. I tell you what. So today we're going to talk more about, in a little bit, we're going to talk about a couple of stories that I heard or read the other day. A Second Amendment win in West Virginia, a class action suit that was brought and made it through some of the courts. And they decided that, guess what? You can't do this. So we're going to talk about that. And we're going to talk a little bit about inflation and how it's affecting you. Not just that it's affecting you. I mean, everybody can talk about that. But especially in West Virginia, to what extent it's affecting us here. And I'm going to finish filling this envelope here so that will calm me down so I know that this is done. Excuse me while I lick this envelope. I know people like, envelopes? What are you seeing the envelopes for? Really, I could have done that better. Well, it's because I'm mailing Dad's bills. Mailing? Yeah. Well, we pay the postman anyway, so let's get our money's worth. How about that? Then I got to go get stamps. Jeez Louise. I don't have enough stamps to send this stuff out. Yes, I could do all of this online. Well, I can't do all of it. I could do most of it online. Excuse me while I put this in my purse so I can get up to the post office. And this is going there, and this is going. I have a stack of stuff. Excuse me, as the great Rush Limbaugh used to say. Except his stack of stuff was papers and things that he was on, topics and things he was going to be discussing. My stack of stuff is bills that I have to pay for myself and Dad and the church and stuff. So it's just, and the church and Dad get priority. So I hope your week has started off better than mine. Mine wasn't terrible. It's just very frustrating. This is a very difficult period of time right now for a few different reasons. Are we ready to go yet? Oh, yeah, I wanted to say, though, you guys listening on the podcasts, I actually believe I have the Apple iTunes issue resolved. It was a couple of different things that I've come across. One was when I initially set the account with Podbean, I had no idea that I would still be going this far out in it. 121 is not a lot to some, but 121 is 121 more than I've ever done before. So I had my initial number of podcasts topped out, I think, at 99 or something like that. So it wasn't. If I understand what the Podbean Q&A page or FAQ page was telling me, is that Apple wasn't recognizing it anymore because of this cap that I had put on it. Just, user error, newbie thing. And then the other thing was that when I went into, and I had to follow the steps again and go through and check things, check this, check that, check something else. When I got to the page on the iTunes podcast, I don't know if you want to call it application or what you want to say it is, but it said draft. And I thought, well, it shouldn't say draft. So I don't know if I'd made a change to something and had saved it but didn't publish it or what, but I published it and it took a few minutes. I don't know if I can find it. If I may be able to pull it up here and show those of you who are. Oh, excuse me. I shouldn't be yawning in your ear. That's very only unprofessional, but rude. Let me see. There I am there. Let's see. Can I get to... Yeah. So there I am on iTunes. You probably can't tell other than right here, this is a little purple thing. So there we are. We're on iTunes. And that should fix some of the other things that it reaches more podcast apps. because it, according to Podbean, Apple distributes from, once I get published to Apple, they distribute to some other ones. So it's kind of like, well, Podbean will get you here and then they'll get you here. So hopefully that's fixed. I believe it is. That's good. That's good. So if you're listening somewhere on one of those podcast apps where I don't have all of the apps and I don't have an individual account with all the apps, and you say hello, let's say you key in hello, make a comment, and you don't get a response back, I'm sorry. It's because I don't have all of the apps for every podcast software or application that's out there that can possibly be reached. So if you would go to robinholstein.com and make your way over to the on the menu, it's not hard. I mean, it's a menu. Go to the contacts page and just send me a message and let me know, hey, I heard you on this podcast app, and I just wanted to make sure that you knew we were hearing you, and I will try to either give you a shout out like I'm about to do for somebody, or I'll try to respond directly back to you. I wanted to say hey to Noster Gang again. I did see your note on Fountain, and I do appreciate it every time you do that. So thank you very much for that. And if you guys like the podcast, which I will admit is not the most exciting one, I'm not teaching you doom and gloom and go buy all the rice and beans and run up in the mountains and hide in a bunker and dig a hole in a mountain and drink spring water because the world's coming to an end. I don't do that. So I do appreciate you being here and just listening. It's it's a well-rounded podcast, I think, and broadcast. So there's not a whole lot of excitement going on around the Holstein House. It's been a series of regular and routine things. I had spent the better part of 3 days getting my homework for my class ready, and shame on me for not getting it done sooner. I tend to put that stuff off because it's just, there's so much that takes precedence over the coursework. The coursework is for my CLM certification. I did have one of the ladies over in the Telegram group, which, by the way, you could join and have conversations with us. It's the Holstein House chat over on Telegram, t.me/the Holstein House chat. There should be a link down in the description. Or did I take that one out? I had so many links in there. I took some of them out. But it's on the contact page over at robinholstein.com. So if you ever think, I don't remember what she said, robinholstein.com, contacts page, you'll find it. But one of the ladies asked me, what does CLM mean? And I've mentioned it before, but there's always somebody different, trying to catch up. That's certified lay minister. So I'm not ordained, not according to the Methodist Church anyway, which is my home church, my home denomination. And I am ordained through a different denomination to do some things, marriages and stuff. So my understanding is, even though I did that to be able to perform marriages, apparently the bishop here in West Virginia for the United Methodist Church, West Virginia, feels that when you do that, and that's that online ordination stuff, you are leaving the Methodist Church. And I thought, I don't agree, but okay. So yes, I can do marriages in West Virginia. I can do a lot of stuff in West Virginia under different hats. The certified lay minister within the United Methodist Church, I will be able to perform any ministerial function except those that are considered sacraments. Sacraments are baptisms, weddings, and communion. So I'm not technically allowed to bless the elements for communion, although I can distribute them. Like Pastor Bill blesses the elements, I can distribute them. So if we're in a bind that way, or it doesn't have to be Pastor Bill, but I can't do weddings, and I can't technically baptize in the Methodist Church. So I would kind of, I mean, I get it. I get it. They're serious things, sacraments are, and people will take them very lightly. I remember hearing a story about, oh darn, now who was it? He's a senior citizen singer, musician, and he, oh, I can see his face. He does a commercial for some of those supplements. Darn it, what's his name? Can't remember. Anyway, I heard a story of someone who the guy was not a minister in any church, but he was very learned in scriptures and stuff, and he would baptize people in these swimming pool, just to have a gang and have a get together and have a big meeting, and the Spirit would move, and he'd just hop them in there and baptize them. Which Christ says, "Do it in my name." He doesn't say you got to go to 4 years of school to do it. But that's I've spent way too much time on that to say that there's not a whole lot going on around here at Holstein House today, because we were just having a lot of life. Who's there? Oh, that's interesting to know, Mr. Shaler. I hope you can find help for your situation. Oh my goodness. Hey, so from the Facebook, I've got a troll. Oh my. Get that taken care of. But that's fine. Anyway, where was I? I was rambling. I do that a lot. That's what Opus Pro tells me. The topic was great, but you rambled, or you were unclear and unfocused. Oh, I think I can delete that. I have a note here because I copy these over so they don't have to retype all the stuff. And I had a note there about the wildfires. Well, they're pretty much gone. All right, let's see. No spammers over on Rumble. Anyway, so there's nothing exciting going on. I've had a lot. Sunday was the first Sunday of Advent, so I had to do a little special ceremony for our Advent Sunday over at the church, which this kind of falls into that category, but I'll do it anyway. Because I slammed in 3 days to get my homework done for my class, and we have one more class, and that's on this January the 2nd, which is a Tuesday, and then we'll finish that class. Then our names are forwarded to the district superintendent, and sometime about February or March, maybe as late as April, they'll call us in and we'll have an interview, and they will generally, you are certified as a lay minister. Very rarely, my understanding is somebody not suggested and approved. So we'll see how that goes. I do have to do a personal ministry plan, which is like a professional development plan that you would do for yourself. It includes, I got it sitting right here. I'll go over the headlines here. It goes over your personal vision and core. It says, in this course, you've spent some time discerning God's call on your life. Name God's vision for your life and ministry as you currently understand it. Then what spiritual gifts do you have, or has God given you? What abilities and talents do you have, which are not the same thing, not always the same thing. How do you want to be known? Personal goals and initiative. What is your plan for practical spiritual disciplines? Which ones will you begin with and how often? What will your reading commitment to the Bible study be? How will you incorporate prayer in your life? What actions of service will you incorporate? Because it is a life of service after all. How will you continue to develop intellectually? Continue to develop. I haven't developed yet. How will you maintain balance in your life, both physically and emotionally? That is the $10 million question. I haven't been able to do that in so many years. It's not funny. We used to be able, and I think it's because of that old, if you see a busy person, give them something to do. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I've been just way too busy for way too long. This whole past 12, 15 months or so has just been crazy busy for me. Accountability and next steps. How will you remain accountable for your personal plan? And this is really kind of something. I mean, you could pull away with references to scripture and have a personal plan that most anybody could set out for themselves. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Well, I see myself in your job. It doesn't work that way, I know. But so I have one more class, and develop the personal ministry plan, and then my interview, and I will be. I should be a certified lay minister in the Methodist Church. How important is it to you for your continuing education? And I don't necessarily mean just because you have a PhD or a master's or a bachelor's or whatever. I've been in a lot of different organizations and had a lot of different professional certifications, and they all flustered me. I achieved the certification, and it was like, this is not what I thought it would be. Have you ever done that? Have you ever thought this? I want to be an astronaut when I grow up, and you become an astronaut, and you're like, this isn't what I thought it would be. I've done that so many times in my life. It's amazing, and but it does also make me think, as we're coming up on the end of the year, and everybody's doing reviews and look backs and plan aheads and stuff. And do you have a plan for 2024? Even if, I don't really, I kind of do, but I don't have a really defined plan for 2024. And I'm just curious to how many people listening might actually do that. Do you just keep it in your head, or do you write it down? And if you write it down, where do you write it? Do you keep it in your computer? Do you have your calendar reminding you, hey, it's been 3 months since you said you would learn to knit. Have you learned to knit yet? On a scale of 1 to 10, 0 being I haven't learned, 10 being I've mastered it. Have you done something like that? Because I'd love to hear about how you do that, how it works for you, how you're able to discipline yourself to keep after that and keep focused on it. I get distracted so easy. It's not even funny. But I'd love to hear from you on that. So just more falderall here. My ankle is a little better. If you were here Friday, you learned that I missed a couple steps coming downstairs on Wednesday, and my ankle was kind of fiddly and irritating, and it wasn't really bad. I didn't sprain it, but it was sore for a couple days, and I did get an ankle brace thingy, like one of those socks that you pull up, and wore it for a couple days, and it seems to be okay. I went out to tend to the poultry for Saturday and stepped just the right way and gave it just the right wiggle that it it felt like something was pricking me from the inside out, and I thought, oh man, I've messed that up. So it's a little tender again, but it's not it's not like I can't walk on it, and I almost don't limp. It just depends on how I step down on it. But I'm going to keep the ankle wrap on it for probably a couple more days, and just to try to keep it from getting a weird movement and tearing or something. So it's not, it didn't swell up or bruise or anything, which is surprising. I really thought it would. Doctor's appointment is Thursday to find out what's going on. The results of the MRI on my chest and lungs, and see what's going on with that. Hopefully, again, I keep saying this, I know you're tired of it. I will get some a different inhaler so that I don't have this hoarse sounding weirdness going on. General projects, nothing new going on at the doghouse, although it has to. I've got to get on the move with that. The Ramsey house, I did sell a few things out of it, not big major things, but I was able to turn around and use that money to buy my bird feed. So I was able to cut back on expenses there. So thank you for the folks that bought those Tupperware canisters, and my chickens and ducks greatly appreciated it. I told you a while back that I put I got a bike trainer and brought my bike over and put it on the bike trainer, and I was using it for exercise. Well, that was just not even a week before I took my fall there on the stairs. And so I gave a rest to my ankle. I didn't get on the bike, and I took that time to get a new seat, because the seat was on it was killing me. It was, I'm, fat bottom girls make the rock and world go round, and I needed a fat bottom girl's seat. So I got one and I put it on, and it's so slick that I was sliding off the seat. So the clothes I had on while I was exercising, riding the bike this morning, I was struggling to not slide off the seat. It sounds stupid, but it felt even worse. And I got off and I tried to adjust the pitch of the seat, and made it worse one time, made it kind of better. But that bike, this is probably the reason that I didn't ride it very much, is that I hate it. I just hate it. The handlebars are up as high as they're going to go. And I need a cruiser bike. I need one that, just with the tall handlebars and, the seat that's just flat and just round, and a cruiser bike, not a mountain bike, or not a what's that other kind? There's like 3 or 4 different kind of bikes. Not the one where the handlebars are all wrapped over and you're hunched over and your rear end's higher than your wrists. That's not what I want to do. And I don't want a mountain bike. I just want a bike, just a plain bike. It doesn't need to have a bunch of speeds on it or anything. Just a plain bike. Excuse me a minute. I'm coughing again. I apologize to you. Or still, I guess, because I've been coughing since August, July. But the inhaler has made it a lot better. I'm not coughing as much. I'm talking a lot right now. I haven't been, but I am, and I'm down in the bunker, and the air is not that great down here. But yeah, I'm going to be looking on Facebook Marketplace and the flea market and stuff. We've got a flea market that kind of stays open all year round. It's not really that great. It's just a lot of bleh. But I'm going to be watching around for a used bike. I don't really want to put money in. That's why I just got the bike trainer. It's just this thing you put on the back wheel and you just pedal. Just like you do at spin class, except I don't want to be all rolled over like a pill bug. And I thought maybe the seat would help if I got a different seat, and apparently it's not going to. So I'll be watching Facebook Marketplace. Be interested to know how do you exercise in the winter? Do you have home equipment that you use? Do you walk even though the weather's really bad? Do you go to a gym somewhere? I'd like to know that because I I hesitate to say I can't, okay, because I really can, but I do, walking in the winter is, if it's cold and dry is one thing. If there's any ice or snow, I don't like that because at my age, I just need one good slip and it's broken hip city. I don't want a broken hip. So I can't get a lot of distance. I can't do a lot of walking without taking a hill somewhere, a hill that has got enough of an incline or decline, depending on which direction you're going, that I could end up on my hind end if it's an icy day or really cold. I did it's been more than a couple years ago. I was walking the dog and I'd walk her up to Walmart and back, so that made 2 miles. But there's a couple good hills there, and once it got to be wintertime and it got really snowy, no. So I don't. And trying to go to a gym, by the time I get there and then get on the equipment and then get back home, I could have been finished with some exercise here at the house. So I need something here at the house. I don't have space for like a rowing machine. I know they make treadmills that you can put under desks or beds, but that's it. If you could see how the house is, you'd understand why that's not an option. So it's just a matter of finding the right thing. And I really thought this bike trainer was going to be the right thing, and it turned out it's just not. It's just not. Oh, baby. Dad's had several appointments. He actually had one yesterday. It was just a checkup appointment. And he made the comment, he says, all you ever do is run me to doctor's appointments. And I had a flashback of Mom, because Mom started making those comments after a while. She's like, that's all we get done is going to the doctor. And what it is, what probably brought this on, I'll say, is he's had several appointments all at once. It's not like once a week, a different doctor once a week. He's had several appointments all at once. And it feels like it's all the time, but it's not all the time. It's just within these couple of 3 weeks that there's been a bunch of appointments, and it's been hard on him. And it's for a man who has been the head of the home for, oh, geez, Louise, 40, 50 years. Yeah. It would be longer than that. Well, it depends on how you count it. If you count it from the time my grandfather passed away, 45 years. If you count it from the time when he left his parents' home and started living on his own, 70 years anyway. 68 maybe. 65. 65, I think. So Dad's been an independent grown man, taking care of himself, being able to fix just about anything. I mean, he's a master with a welding machine, and the knowledge that's packed in his brain about how things work, engines and electric, and I mean, he can do all that. He built half of the house I grew up in. He built his own garage. He fabricated and built a ship. I guess it's called a ship. It might be called a boat. It looks like one of those Coast Guard boats go up and down the river. He cut the steel for that and welded it and put it together. I mean, he did all of it, put the motor in and all that stuff. He in his life could do anything, and now he's starting to wind down, and it's driving him crazy because his back hurts him too bad to drive himself to the doctor. He's embarrassed to be in the wheelchair, and he doesn't like using the walker. He didn't mind the cane as much. When it got to where he needed the walker more, he was embarrassed by it. And then using the wheelchair just drives him insane. He hates using the wheelchair, but some of these appointments, to park and get inside, he can't walk that far. So anyway, it's bothering him. And when he made the comment, all we do is go to doctor's appointments. I didn't really know what to say. It's not true, but I know what he's feeling, and it just is. It's part of life. It's a terrible part of life that he can't just hop in the car and go. So there's that. I better keep going. So the chickens and ducks are doing what chickens and ducks do still. I'm down to getting one white egg a day, and the two ducks are doing what they're supposed to. They're putting out eggs all the time. Bible study, I think we've got one tomorrow, and then that's it until January. We do our lunch and learn is over until January. We do have our church dinner on Saturday. Hoping we have a decent turnout for that. The roof is driving me crazy. The church roof is driving me crazy. I have had estimates. I asked a young man for an estimate on a metal roof on the church, and he gave me one, and I about lost my teeth. But I got an estimate from, I needed more than one, and I got an estimate from another guy, and it was double what the first person said. So I called the first guy and I said, "Why is this, do you think? I know you've done work for me before, and I trust your work, and I really would like to get you this, but there's so much of a difference between yours and this other guy," and I didn't tell him who it was. I didn't give him the actual amounts, but I said, "Are you using cheaper material?" And I mean, I just flat asked him, "Are you using cheap materials?" And I got to comparing the two estimates, and they were material-wise, they were very similar. But the guy that came in so high, almost double, was talking about using a lift to get the metal up there. And then the first guy said, "Nah, you don't need a lift. We don't need a lift." And he said, "Go ahead and get a third one." And I was trying to think of who I would contact anyway. So I get a hold of a third guy. And he went over to the church yesterday, apparently, because I just talked to him. Excuse me. And he said, "I wouldn't dare put a metal roof on that place." I mean, just flat out. I wouldn't dare now, if you paid me enough, I'll do it. But I wouldn't recommend it. And he gave me the reasons why. And now I don't know what to do. I messaged the other guy, the first guy, and I said, "Give me an estimate on a shingle roof." And the two guys the guy that I talked to yesterday, the third guy and the first guy, they didn't give me the exact same reasons, but they were similar, I guess. Guy number one just said, you can't, a metal roof is not, it only guarantees the paint. If the paint's scratched, it's going to rust, and you never know if it's scratched, and you got to cut around the steeple, and it's just, he said it's a busy roof. I don't know what a busy roof means. There's not a lot of stuff sticking out of that roof. So I don't know what that's supposed to mean. The third guy said he didn't know how he was going to put flashing around the steeple, how he was going to fit the metal in there. And he said the shingles that he could put up there, and he always accounts for some replacement wood, some replacement sheets. and the shingles would last 50 years or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know. So like I said, I reached out to the first guy and I said, well, to the first guy and said, give me a quote on the shingles. I'm just going to have to look at what it's going to be for shingles. The other guys were making sense. The guy that I had reached out to first said he'd do it. Said he can do it. I don't know. I'll probably end up putting shingles on it. I really wish I had a committee to do that. I don't have a committee. So those of you guys are thinking, well, take it to your committee, take it to your deacons, take it to whoever. Let them know and let them decide. There aren't any. I'm the one. And to add to that, the insurance company reached out to me yesterday and said they're not going to renew us even do we get the roof work done. So now I definitely have to find insurance. I've got till February to get it done, but I don't even know where to start. Where do you start? Oh well. Anyway, there's that. So let me move along here. And I appreciate you listening to me. One of the main things I wanted to talk about today, and I want to make sure we get to first, is this Second Amendment win that I put in the description. The story comes out of Bellevue, Washington State, and the headline is "Federal Judge Strikes Handgun Sales for Ban for 18 to 20-year-olds in West Virginia Case." And it goes like this: a federal district court. No, let me start over. A federal district court judge in West Virginia has ruled that a federal law prohibiting handgun sales to 18 to 20 years olds is factually unconstitutional and granted a summary judgment in a case brought by the Second Amendment Foundation. It continues to say, in a 40-page decision, U.S. District Chief Judge Thomas S. Klee, K-L-E-E-H, with the Northern District of West Virginia wrote, because plaintiff's conduct, the purchase of handguns, falls within the Second Amendment, unqualified command, and the challenged statutes and regulations are not consistent with the nation's historic tradition of firearm regulations. The court finds in 18 U.S.C. 922 B1 and C1 facially unconstitutional and as applied to plaintiffs. He enjoined defendants, in this case the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF Director Stephen Diedelbach and Attorney General Merrick Garland, from enforcing the provisions against plaintiffs and otherwise qualified 18 to 20-year-olds. This is a huge victory for the Second Amendment rights, especially for young adults, said SAF Executive Director Adam Kraut. The Biden Justice Department argued that people in this age group were not adults, which was patently ludicrous. The government simply could not defend the constitutionality of the handgun prohibition, and Judge Klee's ruling makes that clear. There was never any historical evidence supporting this arbitrary ban on the purchase and ownership of handguns by young adults, noted SAF founder and Executive Vice President Alan M. Gottlieb. As we maintained all along, history goes in the opposite direction. At that age, historically, young adults were considered mature enough to serve in the military and take on other responsibilities. We're delighted with the judge's ruling. The case was filed in September 2022, joining SAF or the West Virginia Citizens Defense League and individual citizens Stephen Roberts Brown, and Benjamin Weekly. They were represented by attorneys John H. Byron of Union, West Virginia, and SAF's Kraut, who is a practicing attorney based in Weston, PA. So that's the story. There is a link to this story in the description below so that you can go over and read it, because sometimes I stumble over words when I'm reading. But this is from the SAF.org, which is the Second Amendment Foundation. And I'm going to tell you something. There's one thing here that just, besides the fact that the Biden administration was trying to keep youngins from owning handguns. Historically, 18 to 20-year-olds were considered mature enough to serve in the militia, the military, and take on other responsibilities. We can send these kids to war in the Middle East. We can send them on ships to the oceans to be shot at by drones and rockets, but they're not mature enough. They're kids. They're not mature enough to buy a handgun. I have argued at different times that restricting cigarette and alcohol sales to 21-year-olds is also unconstitutional, because we send those kids to war. And they're mature enough to join the military and go and die for the country, or get hurt. That's almost worse, because, get hurt, get severely injured, and come back to what? If they're old enough to go to war, they're old enough to own a handgun. If they're old enough to go to war, they're old enough to smoke a cigarette. If they're old enough to go to war, they're old enough to have a beer or a shot of whiskey. Okay, this is ridiculous, and to consider them not able. This is a big reason why the current administration is listening to these kids in college, as they like to say. They're kids in college. They're not kids. They're adults. They're flat out adults. They signed contracts to pay back loans. They got to pay the loans back. I had to pay mine back. You know what? I was the same age as that. Well, actually, I was older when I went to college, but when I got out of high school, I applied to colleges. I just ended up getting married. As long as we treat them like babies, they'll act like babies. And what you see out there now with all these riots from the stupid Hamas supporters are babies throwing tantrums. And you know what you do to babies throwing tantrums? You bust their hind ends. That's what you do. You bust their hind ends. 20-year-olds are responsible enough for handguns, and even worse than is the idea that they thought that they could get away with it. So I am saying bravo to the Second Amendment Foundation and the West Virginia Citizens Defense League, which I must admit I have let my membership to lapse, and I will be taking care of that right away. I don't think I have my membership card here handy. I'll dig it out one of these days and show it. I have a very low number. I'm like 383. My membership card number is like 383. I joined it back in 2012, but I have let it lapse. I need to take care of that. And bravo to them for taking that on. Well, I have a few more minutes. The next thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about was inflation. There's a story that's published on our local television news, WOWK Channel 13 News. It's a CBS affiliate that says they've headlined this story. Now, this is the story is for the entire country, but these headlines is: if you live in West Virginia, You need to make $10,000 more just to live like you did in 2021, analysts finds. And again, there's a link to this story in the description below. This goes to say an economic analysis by a group of congressional Republicans may have you feeling nostalgic for January of 2021. Okay, January of 2021. There's not much to miss about that time when many Americans were still out of a job or under stay-at-home orders because of the, and I won't say the word, it starts with a P. But inflation hadn't yet exploded. Since then, the cost of just about everything from groceries to gas to housing has skyrocketed. An inflation tracker created by the members of Congress's Joint Economic Committee shows the impact of inflation on the average household in every state. While the Joint Committee is chaired by a Democrat, the report and data was put out by the committee's Republican members. Nothing to see here, right? The report uses January 2021 as a benchmark because that was the last time inflation was within recent historic norms. Now, the report claims most American households would need to spend an additional $10,000 or more just to afford the same goods and quality of life that they had less than 3 years ago. Has your income raised by $10,000? Probably not. As cost of living varies by state, so does the cost of inflation. Even in the most affordable states like Arkansas, Maine, and Oklahoma, the average household still needs to spend more than $8,000 or more to cover their needs when compared to January 2021. Of all the states, Colorado households, smoke them if you got them, Colorado households have it worse. According to the report, the annual cost of recent inflation for them is $14,995. I usually don't buy a vehicle that's over $10,000. It's just inflation, $14,995. But in Washington, D.C., and remember, D.C. is not a state. In Washington, D.C., it's actually worse than any state. Families and households in the nation's capital need to spend $17,109 to keep up with where they were at the beginning of 2021. And then in this story is a map that it says you can hover over your state and see what it says. And when I hover over West Virginia, it says the annual cost of inflation is $9,390. State inflation is 19%. I believe it. So again, the link to the map or a link to the story that includes the map is in the description below. I also want to say that one of the things that I try to do here, and again, I know it's not all that exciting, but one of the things that I do try to do here is share with you ways to cut costs on your groceries and in general things around the house. I haven't put out. Listen to me stutter. I haven't put out the number of videos that I would like to have done simply just because I just haven't been able to do it. And but I do like to share videos. I do have quite a few videos over on the both the Rumble channel and the YouTube, and of course in some cases over on Facebook for Holstein House, showing you ways to save money on purchases, showing you how to can groceries, can vegetables and meats and vegetables. Where did I put my books up, didn't I? Darn it. See, every time I go to look for them, I don't have them out where I can get to them. I even have my cookbook, or recipe book, I should say. It's not really a cookbook, but it's a recipe book on feeding your family under $10 a day. I probably should look at those price lists and see how they've changed. That might be a conversation we can have soon. But yeah, we try to help you offset some of those costs here with good advice and recipes and processing. And because we do, I do can, I dehydrate, freeze, of course, and try to think of ways that will help you make ends meet. I try to show you ways to fix things yourself. Wasn't too long ago, I did a video. It's on YouTube on, before you call to have your dishwasher repaired because it's not cleaning good, check your blades. And I show you how to check the blades and how to rinse the blades out. And it doesn't do it 100%. I mean, if your machine is wearing out, the cleaning of the blades won't fix it. But and there's a filter in your dishwasher that will clog up with grease and stuff that needs to be cleaned on occasion. You need to change your air conditioning filters. If you don't know where they are, if you rent a place, ask your landlord about it. If you own your place and you've never changed your filters, you probably want to do that. And there's just several little helpful hints that I try to give across over the past year or so that should help you manage. It's not going to save you $10,000 though. And one of the things you have to do is decide how you're going to handle that yourself. And for a lot of people, that's going to be selling things either on Facebook Marketplace or yard sales or such. And that's going to be hard to get $10,000, or taking a second job, or maybe a third job for some people, or cutting back on other things, cutting back on how many streaming services do you have? Check your cell phone bill. Is there a way? Is there an option if you change cell phone companies? Your cable company. Do you need cable or should you have satellite? Right. The other one went right out of my head. I was thinking, how much electricity do you use by having all your gadgets on at the same time? How many computers do you have on one time? It doesn't sound like a lot, but every little bit helps. Keeping your vehicle tuned up properly, your oil changes, your tire inflations, your keeping your air filter in your vehicle clean. These will help cut down on your fuel cost. Might just be micro little amounts, but if you're taking care of your vehicle, it's going to last longer. So that's a purchase you don't have to make right away. Do you need the latest one of these? Do you really? How much are you paying for this? Are you using your cell phone to stream TV instead of your TV? Could you cut back on this a little bit or do without? I was watching somebody's, or I was listening to something. Maybe it was I can't remember who it was now. We're talking about the sales on Black Friday were down, and one of the big things that wasn't selling was televisions. Well, why do I need all the televisions? You have a television, but most people are streaming and watching stuff either on their Kindle or on their phone. So why go spend a couple $100 on a TV, which, by the way, is an amazing amount. The big console TV I bought when I was first married, $200 was a lot. And then when it went out, you had this console you had to deal with. And today's TV, our smart TVs have such a better picture, are huge, and the prices are really, really down. And but do you need all of those? And all of those use energy. If you have them all on at the same time, how much energy is it using? There's just a myriad of ways you can cut back and trim. Do you really need a cell phone? I mean, I hate to think of what life would be like without mine now. But do I really need one? No, I don't need one. I like having it, especially with my dad and his health. When my mother was still living, I had mine on me all the time because she would get sick at the drop of a dime. Her heart would flip out or her blood sugar would freak out or something, and she'd be calling me. And I'd have to take off and go get her because she would not call an ambulance. She did not want people seeing her getting in the ambulance. Well, now I'm that way with Dad. So I have my phone with me all the freaking time because I need to know if Dad needs to talk to me. I don't know who the next one will be, But there was a time when your telephone was at the house, it didn't go with you everywhere. And that may be a conversation for another day on stress reduction. Now I may do that. Let me write myself a note that I can ignore. I write notes all the time and then I don't do them. And here's the physician healing herself here. Stress reduction video. If you only knew all the stuff I have to do. My stress level's off the chart. I tell you what. So, well, kids, we're right at an hour. I'm going to call it. And it's been great talking with you. And if you caught the replay and you have a comment, please just put replay and then put your comment. And then I know. I encourage you to check the description below for the links to our church Gives and Go, which is going to help pay for the roof. It's a long story, but we have a Give, Send, Go for the roof of the church, and there's a link to it in the comments below. The books that I'm going to probably give away on my Christmas Day video, whenever that's going to be, I think on the 19th. What is that? A couple weeks from now. The link to the story on the inflation with the map, the link to the Second Amendment win is in there, and contact links for me is in there. So I really appreciate you guys. Please like and if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. If you want to join the Telegram group, it's t.me/Holstein House chat, and go to robinholstein.com for all your contact links to get a hold of me. I really, really appreciate you being here with us today, and I really hope that you enjoyed the little sideways conversation and the good news about that Second Amendment. I appreciate you very much, and I hope to see you on Friday. Till then, bye-bye.
So, there you have it. Post your comments, do all that boosting, liking, sharing, thumbs up, and stuff that helps spread the word and poke the algorithms. Follow me on most of the big social media platforms and look for my name, Robin Holstein, or Holstein House. Till next time, bye-bye.